As some of you know, I've been kind of in this Overwatch game since, the early days, but there are people who have been in it longer than me. Soldier 76, Ana Amari, Reaper, but there's one guy who's still fighting who really should have gotten out of the game a long time ago. The thing is, I don't think even he would let himself do it. I'm of course talking about our buddy Reinhardt. Over 30 years ago, Overwatch was founded to counter the threat of the robot uprisings around the world. This is the story you know. Reinhardt, a highly decorated German soldier, was inducted as part of the original Overwatch strike team that put an end to the Omnic crisis. After the conflict's resolution, Overwatch grew into a global institution, keeping the peace of a war-torn world. Reinhardt proved himself to be one of its most stalwart champions. Reinhardt's unique ethics and larger-than-life persona earned the admiration of his peers and superiors alike. He was never afraid to speak his mind as one of Overwatch's most vocal supporters, and, when necessary, its harshest critics, providing a constant reminder that Overwatch was meant to be a force for good. Hey, dissent is a form of patriotism. He was, and still is, great pals with our short buddy Torbjorn. Having served into his late 50s, however, Reinhardt was faced with mandatory retirement from combat operations. Despondent about being removed from active duty, Reinhardt feared that his days of purpose and glory had ended. And as times grew darker and Overwatch came under suspicion of corruption and sedition, Reinhardt could only watch as the cause he dedicated his life to surrendered in disgrace. About 1 year prior to its disbandment, Overwatch's Swiss headquarters was destroyed, apparently killing Jack Morrison and Gabriel Reyes in the blast. Reinhardt spoke fondly of his former commander at his memorial service. Though Overwatch was eventually disbanded, Reinhardt was not content to sit idly while the world fell to disorder. Once again donning his Crusader armor, the big giant robot-looking thing, he vowed to fight for justice across Europe like a knight of old, defending the innocent and winning the hearts and minds with the promise of better days to come. In this, he was accompanied by Brigitte, who helped maintain his armor. The pair would get into plenty of scraps. My favorite example is when Reinhardt actually slayed a dragon. No, I am not kidding about this. So while he was traveling with Brigitte, Reinhardt and his companion found themselves low on fuel and money. They stop off in a town to get some fuel, but find it practically abandoned. They discover that the area is being menaced by a group called the Dragons, a group of scavengers who were seizing territory unopposed by the local authorities. They encountered some of the dragons themselves, and Reinhardt stepped in, demanding they leave. They refused and proceeded to, beat him into the ground. Yeah, he is an old man, and that was a bunch of young dudes. Laughing at his now inability to fight back, they headed off, warning Reinhardt that he should do likewise. Not following that advice, Reinhardt and Brigitte got his armor into fighting shape. With Brigitte having located the Dragon's base of operations in a nearby factory, Reinhardt picked up his big heavy rocket hammer and headed to confront them. Willingly or otherwise, Reinhardt saw the dragons as actual dragons of myth, and fought them as the proverbial knight. Actually, now that I'm reading this, does anyone remember those Don Quixote novels? Windmills, charge! In this, he succeeded and demanded that they leave these lands and never return. The next day, Reinhardt was back in the town, telling the mayor that the dragons would bother his people no longer. Their job done, he and Brigitte headed off to get some fuel. Which I wonder how they ran the suit without. A lot of people accuse Reinhardt of living in the past, but he still does a lot of great things. There's one person I can think of who recently appeared right out of the mists of the past to come and help us out. But that's another story.